Hey guys, welcome to my channel Chess Guru by Lalit. Let's start the game. The pawn pushed by the white d4 and the d5 is the reply from the black side. The bishop comes to f4, a6 is a reply. Then the knight shift to c3 and f6 knight reply. Then the pawn pushes to e3. Now the e6 is a reply from the black side and a3 is from the white side. Back side pawn pushed to h6. Now the knight shift to f3 and the reply from the black side is c6 knight. Now the bishop is moved to d3. The black queen moves to d7 and the white queen moves to e2. Now the bishop changes to the position d6 and the castling occurs at the white side. The bishop takes the white bishop and the pawn takes the bishop. King moves its position to f8. White knight shifted to h4 and the black knight captures the pawn and gives threat to the queen. Therefore queen moves its position. Bishop goes to g6 for sacrifice and the queen captures the pawn at 4. Knight is a threat, then protects the threat of the knight and the bishop is under attack. Now the queen supports the bishop. Knight shifted to f5 and the bishop takes it and the pawn takes the bishop. White knight takes the center pawn at d5. Black knight takes it and the queen captures the black knight. He started pushing pawn at the king side. White started positioning the rook at the center. The king moves its position, also captures the center position e1 and now the pawn pushed to c and the queen gives the check. Black queen protects the check. Now pause the video and tell me the best move for the white to proceed and win the game. Here the white queen captures the black queen and the king captures the white queen. Now the pawn is shifted to f4, black bishop shifted to e6 and the rook positions to d6. Black rook threatens the white rook and the white makes the battery of the white rook. Rook captures at d6 and the white rook captures the d6. Now the king moves and threatened the white rook moves to b4 to attack the pawn and the bishop supports it and the knight moves to f3 and the pawn is being pushed from the other side. Black pawn moves to c5 attacking the rook of white, moves to b6. Black rook again moves to d6 to capture the rook of white. Then white rook moves and the pawn is pushed. Check threat is given by the knight. Therefore king moves to protect the check. Now the rook e3. Black pawn pushed to g5 to remove the knight and it was captured. Therefore knight moves to f3. Now the king moves its position and the rook also moves its position to capture the rook but now gives the check to the king of the black. Rook goes to d8. Now the king goes back to its original position where it was. Now the knight shifts its position and the rook also shifts its position. You are going to learn how to win the end game. You can check the king is moving and giving the threat to rook to capture it but the rook is moving away and giving the check to the king. Here any of the black pieces come in the middle, it will be captured. So king is moved and pawn is put from the white side. Bishop threatened to capture the rook and the rook pinned the bishop. So black king moves and here the knight moves to f3 and the king moves to g6. King moves to g2 and the bishop moves to e6. Then the pawn is pushed to h4, pawn pushes to g4, the knight has to move from here. So black has to move to d2. Now the rook is attacking the knight. Knight moves to f1. I do not understand where to move, therefore it shifted its rook in the same line. King moves to e3 and the bishop moves to f7. Now the rook moves to h8 and the king threatens to move. Therefore rook again moves. Rook gives the check to the king and king moves. Black rook again gives the check. Therefore king captures the pawn, moves away and black rook gives threat to the knight and knight moves and again knight moves and captures the pawn. Again the rook gives the check and the king moves. Again the check. Then again the king moves. Rook goes to e6. White rook goes to b5 and bishop goes to h5. Then the knight goes to e3. Black rook goes to c6 and the knight goes to f5, gives the check to king. And here comes the knight discovers check for the rook and the king. As the king moves, the rook is gone. What a wonderful move. Now it captures the rook, and here the opponents gave up. If you have liked the video, please subscribe and stay connected with me on this channel. Thank you.